Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the After World IPv6 Day What's Next conference. I'm Celia, the MC of this event today. The World IPv6 Day was on the 8th of June this year. It has been a memorable day of the Internet history, in which top content providers such as Google, Yahoo, and Facebook, and over 1,000 websites participated in a global-scale trial of the new Internet protocol, IPv6. After the World IPv6 Day, the question is, what's next? To welcome all of you to this meaningful event today, we would like to invite our hosts to say a few words for us. First, may we have Charles Mark, the chairman of Internet Society Hong Kong, please.
Thank you, Celia. I'm trying to read. My eyes are not so good. I'm trying to read from my little iPhone here. But, thank you for coming here on a Friday afternoon. I hope we will not disappoint you with the exciting technical sharing that will come later on this afternoon. June 8th was a very interesting and memorable day for many of us in the internet industry and in the internet technical world, because that was World IPv6 Day. And you might notice from the logo, it was actually affectionately called W6D. So that will go down in history as World IPv6 Day, the acronym. As Celia said, many large-scale internet companies, including Google, Yahoo, Cisco, and so on, Facebook, they all participated. And in fact, over 1,000 participants and participating companies, organizations, and so on. In fact, Internet Society Global, our parent organization, was the coordinating body behind it. And it was basically the largest technical trial of IPv6 ever so far. As a 24-hour test flight, what they call it, it was greatly successful. And in fact, there were also many lessons learned, particularly in the technical aspect. And that is what we're going to have today as sharing by some of the participants, people who are very deeply involved in the organizing and the running of that 24 hours and what they found out from it. So today we're very happy to have Eric, Jason, and Martin, and Kevin from repeating the companies, Google, Yahoo, Hurricane Electric, and Cisco, to share with us what they have learned from the exercise. Now, of course, the first question is getting the technical community interested. And so, in fact, what we have done in ISOC over the years, actually, I just checked, and we have actually been running technical training for IPv6 since 2007, and many people, in the thousands of people in Hong Kong has gone through our training. And in fact, we're moving on to a new phase, and there will be a little bit of announcement later on, and I'll save that for later. So that's the part about getting the technical community ready, and that is what we are doing today. But I think the other important part is getting the rest of the community ready. And that will be a great challenge. And hopefully, we will have the opportunity to work together with many of the organizations in Hong Kong in order to make that happen. Now, finally, I just want to thank our other hosts for this activity, including Cyberport. Of course, they have been our very consistent supporter and partner in IPv6 promotion. And also IET, the Institute of Engineering and Technology. They are one of the largest ICT professional bodies in Hong Kong, and obviously for the promotion of a new technology standard, their role is going to be very important. And also the other co-hosting organizations, including APNIC.Asia organization, Hong Kong Internet Exchange, HKIRC, Hong Kong Internet Service Providers Association, and the last one just skipped on me, IPv6 Forum, Hong Kong. So before I turn the stage over to our next guest of honor, just one more minute, I would like to inform you and remind you that if you have time tomorrow afternoon, please come and join us at the I must have pressed on something. Please come to an event that will be held at the HK Productivity Council, which is actually going to be a seminar that we're co-hosting with a number of other security-related organizations on the defending against DDoS and advanced attacks on critical infrastructure. I need new glasses. Anyway, so we hope you will be there and be able to join us for this very interesting technical talk as well in the afternoon tomorrow. So without further ado, let me turn the time over to our MC. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. May we now invite Mr. David Chong, Chief Technology Officer of Cyberport, please.
Well, I prefer using more, paper. My eyesight is kind of lost. Okay, Charles, Albert, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. On behalf of Cyberport and as a chairman of the IPv6 Forum Hong Kong chapter, thank you for coming. And it's a wonderful to see a great turnout today. And then I have to say, without a good partner, like ISOC Hong Kong, we won't able to, pull everything together. And in fact, Cyberport has been working with ISOC Hong Kong and then the rest of the community in promoting IPv6 for a number of years. And I will see light in the tunnel. And we're still doing this IPv6 promotion at this moment. And as we experience the IPv6 World Day, and I would say Hong Kong overall traffic has some uptick, but still we think that it's not good enough, and so that's why Cyberport has been working with our partner today, and I would say this important partner is Hong Kong Internet Registration Corporation. And not only our infrastructure can support IPv6, we are extending our Cyberport core infrastructure to our partner and let them experience the IPv6. And we want to make this a collaboration as a good example and also a successful case sharing later the year. And such that more Hong Kong SME and a local ISP can join it. And of course, we will continue to support this trial, and I welcome ISOC Hong Kong to join in as a role to promote this success to the public. And technology revolution has transformed the way we live and do business, and deployment of IPv6 is critical as we create a much more business opportunity and for SME and also general public as a whole. And it is essential for our economy prosperity as well as the internet security enhancement of our quality of life. I'm sure our expert today will share some of the insight and findings of the last, I would say, IPv6 deployment experience so far. And I'm sure this will be very interesting and enlightening. And again, thank you for joining us today, and please enjoy today's sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Next, let's invite Mr. Albert Lam, a midday past chairman of the Institution of Engineering and Technology. Albert, please.
Thank you. On behalf of the IET, the Institution of Engineering and Technologies, welcome you all to come to this wonderful seminars. It is also our pleasure to jointly host the event together with ISO and Cyberport. Somebody may ask, why IPv6? Over the past year, just what David said, the internet has changed the way the people live. They have a lot of information exchange through the internet. But when we go back, when the days when IET is formed, the information change is very slow. It's just about 10 characters per minute. Actually, IET is named as the institution of telegram engineers at that time. This is in year 1871, so IET actually has a long history. But engineers don't satisfy with this kind of slow information exchange. That's why we keep on changing. We invent telephone, we invent radio, we invent TV, internet, etc., etc. And the bandwidth and the data exchange come to now is already in fiber optic and in gigabyte per second range. But most important is that there's a lot of new applications because the hardware won't work without new applications. And we have internet, we have email, we have internet banking, we have this social networking through the mobile. These are all the integrated internet functions, which maybe many of us cannot think of it a few years before. So with this fast-changing world, everybody needs to keep in the pace. That's why we need to keep on changing. And that's why the IP address also needs to change to the IPv6. In IET, we are also keeping the changing pace. That's why just what I mentioned from the original name of engineer of telegraph, we changed it to the Institution of Electrical Engineer, and subsequently we will merge with the Institution of Radio and Electronic Engineer, and also the inaugurate engineers to form the current IET. Other than changing, globalization is another vision that IET is promote and hope everybody will understand. And this is also a place for the internet. Because nowadays, you cannot confine into a single place. And while the world has been changed to the IPv6, Hong Kong needs to follow. Although somebody still arguing that in Hong Kong we are not a sort of IP address now. But in order to be a world city, and especially to develop the data center in Hong Kong, we cannot fall behind and need to change accordingly. With the fast-growing rate of application in the internet, IP address have become scarce resources now. So when we change from the IPv4, we have no alternative but to the IPv6. Like any other changes will have some risk, although we may say in a lower scale that some imperfections. But somehow, this is something that we need to overcome, to educate the users and get them buy-in. This is important. A lot of new technology are very good technology roll out, but because of the poor management of change, it ultimately fail. I hope that this is not the case for the IPv6. And that's why we are here. We have the experts all around the world to tell us what is the current situation, what is their experience. I hope that this should be a very good lesson learned from them, and hope you all enjoy the talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Albert. Now we would like to invite our hosts and co-hosts to come onto the stage for group photos. May we now invite Mr. Charles Mark, Mr. David Chung, Mr. Chi Hu Chang, convener of IPv6 Working Group in ISOC Hong Kong, Mr. Jonathan Shear, CEO of Hong Kong Internet Registry, Mr. York Mork, Chairman of Hong Kong Internet Service Providers Association, and also Mr. Edmund Chung, CEO of .Asia organization, to come onto the stage. Would all our guests please remain on stage? And now we would also like to invite all our guest speakers to come onto the stage for another group photos. Mr. Eric Klein, Mr. Jason Fessler, Mr. Martin Levy, and Mr. Kevin Yin, please. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated, while Charles and Martin, please remain on stage. Coming up, we have a very special announcement for the IPv6 certification program. So would Charles and Martin please say a few words for us?
Martin, why don't you go ahead first? Yeah, you start and tell us. Please tell the audience what we're going to be announcing today. And actually, what would make it good is that you do it in English, I'll do it in Chinese.
Okay. So, some of you already know this. I know some people in the audience. Hurricane Electric has operated an IPv6 certification program for nearly a couple of years now. And all around the world, people have gone online and tested not just their skills about IPv6, but also their practical understanding of how to get connected and serve web pages and send email and configure DNS so that they can operate in both an IPv4 and an IPv6 world. And this IPv6 certification program has touched, as I said, all over the world. Here in Hong Kong and everywhere else. But it has a flaw. It has a problem. It's in English. And that limits it to a much larger audience. Because as much as I've spoken English all my life, I had a French teacher who tried hard. The reality is, it's only one language. So today, between ISOC Hong Kong and Hurricane Electric, we are very happy to announce that we have now built a fully international language version of this. And the first language is Chinese. And we'll get a chance to show you that today. But more importantly, it is the beginning of opening up the process for a much larger audience, with our ISOC Hong Kong obviously focusing on Hong Kong to begin with. But from Hurricane Electric's point of view, we're very happy to do this, because running a network around the world, we know full well that one language, just not enough. So that's what we're going to announce today, and I suppose I already have.
That's what we're announcing. That's what we're announcing here today together. Yes, Martin. Because actually in Hong Kong, I think there are actually quite a number of people in Hong Kong already certified under Hurricane Electric's program, and there are the newbie level and also the sage level. Actually, most of the people in Hong Kong, I think they're very smart. They're all the way at the top level of certification, including some of the people sitting in the audience today, including I think the first one. Your first one? Yeah. the first one. He's the number one. He's the number one first Hong Kong SAGE level certified person in Hong Kong, Warren, who's also a member of our working group. Now, we're very happy to have the opportunity to actually expand this program to with you to Chinese, starting with doing it in the Hong Kong territory, but actually we would very much hopefully expand it to the rest of the Chinese-speaking world. Right, it is definitely going to happen. So I hope you will allow me to say a few words in Chinese just for the occasion, because that's the whole purpose, that's the whole reason of us doing it. 咁就今日我哋好高興咧，就同 Hurricane Electric 呢一間基本上係喺 IPv6嘅，尤其是喺嗰個 certification 方面咧，好多即係工程師啦嚇都會認識嘅一間公司咧，就係今日咧我哋會同佢宣布，我哋互聯網協會香港互聯網協會咧會同佢哋合作咧，就係其實將佢哋嘅呢一個嘅課程同埋呢一個認證嘅工作咧呢一個嘅認證啦嚇，就係中文化。咁咧就可以令到更加多嘅朋友喺香港或者甚至喺其他地方咧都可以係接觸到，亦都可以喺網上同埋甚至乎喺其他渠道，甚至一啲授課形式嘅渠道入邊咧，係認識到呢一個咁嘅學到即係認識到 IPv6唔單止，仲可以得到嗰個認證嘅。咁喺呢一個我覺得亦都係我哋一個好重要嘅里程碑。咁除此之外咧，即係亦都要順帶喺呢度提一提咧，就係我頭先唔記得咗。其實今年2011年9月咧，其實亦都係一個非常之重要嘅時間，因為咧今日我哋踏入 IPv6嘅世界，其實咧喺係咪20年前，20年前咧嘅今個月咧，就係香港第一次接駁到去嗰個互聯網入邊嘅時間，所以其實呢一個月咧，即係應該咧就係我哋20週年嘅香港駁上網嘅20週年嚟嘅，咁所以咧我哋今日呢個都算係少少嘅慶祝啦嚇。雖然睇下一陣可唔可以揾到個生日蛋糕嚟嚇。咁I was just saying that actually it's great that we're able to announce it at this time in September of 2011, because exactly 20 years ago, Hong Kong was finally connected to the internet through the university's academic and research network. So he's Chinese university. That's why he should be announcing it. Chinese university, 20 years ago, connecting themselves and the whole of Hong Kong onto the internet. So it's actually a great milestone that we together are able to make today in going forward to the next 20 years.
I could not have put it better myself. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, I think we have a little bit of unveiling ceremony. 你企喺中間，我哋 hold 住好啲。
Yeah, exactly. We're going to have a launching ceremony to kickstart the program. As you can see on the board, there is the existing English IPv6 certification program that is provided by Hurricane Electric. And after counting to 3, would Charles and Martin please tear off the sticker on the foam board to kick off the first non-English global IPv6 certification program. So are you ready? Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Please give a round of applause to celebrate this launch of program. So please, Martin and Charles, please take a picture together. And actually, if you're interested in the IPv6 certification program and all the training, please join us as our ISO Hong Kong member by filling in a simple membership form in the welcome kit so that you could be in the loop and get all the updated information about it. Thank you, Charles and Martin. And please be seated. Coming up, we are going to hear the speech from one of our honorable guest speakers, Mr. Eric Klein, IPv6 software engineer for Google in Tokyo. He has contributed as a software developer to the launch of IPv6 support for numerous Google services. So, Eric, please.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you, Ping, for organizing all of this. I know it's not easy work. I thought I would talk to you today a bit about World IPv6 Day, perhaps even a tale about its history, and some more about IPv6 at Google. And well, we'll see. And actually, I do have some stuff at the end about what is coming up after this, the next World IPv6 event. I don't know. Hopefully, this is not necessary. Why IPv6 at all? Everyone here should know this. It's actually very exciting to be in a room full of people who appear to be excited about IPv6. But obviously, there is no more IPv4. APNIC is out. This whole region is out. Europe is soon to follow. And sadly, if you look at the graph on the bottom, the blue line is the total percentage of native v6 of IPv6 that we see amongst our users. 0.3%. It's not happening. It's not getting deployed out there yet. Do we have an alternative? What are people waiting for? Obviously, sort of today, the ideal model in most places is that every home has a single IPv4 address, public IPv4 address. Well, with large-scale NAT or carrier-grade NAT or whatever they're going to call it, all that NAT moves into the center of the ISP. This is going to have some impact on everybody. For ISPs, this stuff is going to be expensive. At APNIC, a couple of folks stood up and said that CGN boxes are in fact very expensive. The EDUB routers, the EDUB line card ports, the additional logging requirements. Yahoo BB produced some numbers for instead of logging every single IP address, you'll also have to start logging all TCP and UDP ports as well to identify users. There's going to be application breakage. You will not be able to VPN into your home once this is done. Voice over IP, video streaming, some gaming stuff, this is all going to be very tricky. And opening up reports, you can have incoming traffic, may in fact not work at all, or it will definitely require coordination with your own ISP. And it's not going to get better over time. This only goes one direction. It only gets worse, and this complexity creates cost. It has some impact on content as well. With all of this carrier-grade NAT, users sharing IP addresses, geolocation may eventually become a problem. There are certain legal compliance issues with geolocation for streaming and other things. For example, if you wanted to search for pizza from here, we might actually be able to know that you mean pizza in Cyberport. But eventually, the best we may be able to do is to say, oh, they're probably searching for pizza in Hong Kong, which is pretty big. So that's going to get worse. And abuse identification and blocking is also a problem. If you have to block a single IP address, you could take out hundreds or even more users. And I don't know how many of you have traveled and stayed in hotels, but some hotels have really bad hotel internet. This is port restriction. This is what the HTTP intercept looks like. This is what will happen when you run out of ports at home on your ISP. You may get a pop-up page saying, I'm sorry, your internet connection is all busy right now. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to live with bad hotel internet. This will have some impact on applications as well. The internet was successful because of end-to-end, and everyone still wants it. Skype and BitTorrent and all the voice and video chat, all these things are people actually wanting to end-to-end. They're never going to say that they want IPv6. They're never going to say that they want end-to-end. They just want the internet to work the way it has worked. The killer application for IPv6 is the survival of the open internet, as it has been. But if this goes away, what is internet going to be like? It's just going to be a subscription service. It's going to be like subscribing to television or to the phone network. I would actually like to take a moment here to describe something that somebody named Jan Soares has done in Slovenia. He has used IP mobility on his phone. He has a fixed IPv6 address for his phone. And using IPv6 mobility, he can reach his phone from anywhere in the world. And one of the things he likes to do is to show that you can get to the web server on his phone and see the camera view of of the crowd. This is not something that is going to be possible with v4. It's already not possible right now for most cell phone networks. They're all primarily NATed. So new applications like this will require IPv6. And this is, in fact, where much of the opportunity lies. In the US, LTE means IPv6, and there are some IPv6 only deployments. And actually, for ourselves, I'm beginning to look at deploying IPv6 only networks inside our own office network as well. It's still a little early, but we will, in theory, be able to eventually have an entirely IPv6 only office, because all of Google's services are in the cloud, and the cloud is reachable over IPv6. So how should we get there? This is a list of some things that you commonly hear. We were on the street talking to some folks in Busan the other night, and they had all of the same arguments. Every argument that they said, oh, but our ISP doesn't do it. Oh, well, yeah, but our vendor doesn't do it. Oh, but this other vendor, and then they said, oh, 2013, 2014, yeah, it's all been said before. But for every problem, there is either a solution or a workaround. You just have to be dogmatic about finding it. And I think I will try to skip a bit. So obviously, a bunch of us wanted to make the IPv6 content available because there was the chicken and egg symptom, where access providers were saying there's no content, and content people are saying there are no eyeballs. So we decided a long time ago that we would take a stand and deploy some content. But there is this sort of IPv6 brokenness thing, and it's actually not great. 0.06% of users, when you have 1 billion users per week, is 600,000 users who can't get to your service. That's pretty meaningful to us. So the problem, of course, if you do this unilaterally, is that everything else works. It's only Google services that would appear to be broken. This obviously was unacceptable, and we tried to figure out how we could fix this. So we started something called Google over IPv6. It was a program where we would serve Quad A's to resolvers that represented networks that we knew were committed to deploying production quality IPv6. We also engaged OS and browser vendors to get certain fixes in to have fast fallback, for example. And then we had a chance with Yahoo and Facebook and others to organize World IPv6 Day. Actually, World IPv6 Day began, if you look at the video of the last Google IPv6 conference in June of 2010, the very final session, and Martin and Jason were there. Cameron Byrne from T-Mobile walks up to the microphone in the final session and proposes something that sounds very much like World IPv6 Day. And then Mark Townsley from Cisco got up and proposed something very, very similar. And then finally, Ron Boersma from the US Navy said, yeah, maybe we should do this thing where we turn on IPv6 for 24 hours. Everybody can get some experience. And I think June 6th is about the right date, because that's the 5-year anniversary of the deprecation of 6-bone. June 6th fell on a Monday, so we chose June 8th. That way, people wouldn't have to work on the weekend. So for preparation, we did a lot of work. We thought originally that it would be just another day serving IPv6, but in the run-up, we realized we needed to warn people that this was coming. So we developed this push-down. When you went to google.com, if we detected that you might be broken for dual stack, we showed you this little banner. This actually was internationalized in more than 40 languages. This, by the way, is actually a screenshot of when my Mac was broken. I did not fix this. My Mac was legitimately broken, and I don't know what I did to it, but I figured I should capture a screenshot. But we present this little warning message. It says your connection may not be ready, and you can try now. You can go click on the try it now link. And that took you to a test page that we wrote that was also internationalized in 40 languages. It would run a few simple tests to see if you were ready or not. And there's actually a link in Japanese that says Kochira. If you click on that, if you still had problems, it took you to IPv4 only help pages that would walk you through what may be wrong with your connection, how you could fix it. This also was internationalized in more than 40 languages. We got. I apologize for the color here. It's very faint. It's not good for presentations. But this is a graph of what we call dual stack impact, the percentage of connections that fail to a dual stack host, relative to sort of a background level of connection failure in the internet. This is Chrome, And we managed to talk to the Chrome guys, and they came up with this idea that they would do this fast fallback. If they were connecting to an IPv6 address, they would give that IPv6 connection 300 milliseconds head start. If it didn't complete, they would start a backup connection to an IPv4 address to the same host, assuming it had one, and they would take the winning connection. If you look at what happened here, the brokenness rate came down to 0.01% and falling. This means that if you look at Chrome, its reliability is in the 4.5, 9s, and rising. Firefox, a Google engineer put this into Firefox a couple of weeks after that as well. So Firefox, the next release, has this code in it too. So what did we see on World IPv6 Day? Well, we managed to get a bunch of our own services, new services to have Quad A's. Toolbar.google.com, Talk and Mobile Talk on your phone got Quad A's. Google Analytics got Quad A's. So if you have IPv6 on your site and you use Google Analytics, you could also measure the number of users who came to your site over IPv6. Google Public DNS got IPv6 VIPs. And some other folks tried, but they didn't make the final change window, but they did right after the day add Quad A records for AdWords and for IMAP, POP, and SMTP. So all mail services for users are accessible over IPv6. When the day was over and it was time to sort of roll the Quad A's back, we let the teams know that they didn't actually have to take Quad A's away if they didn't want to. And some of them, YouTube and Mobile Talk, left Quad A's on for the world. Not YouTube.com, but all of the YouTube videos right now, except for the most problematic of networks, they all are reachable over IPv6. And so here's a traffic graph. Everybody likes traffic graphs. The vertical white bars are the boundary of World IPv6 Day. We were already serving about 60% of the native IPv6 internet, so this was kind of just another day for us. This is broken out by color. The color is metro region, and I think actually the red is all the extra YouTube traffic we picked up in the Hong Kong metro region, actually, I believe, or maybe that's the yellow region. But because we left YouTube videos on afterwards, the nominal traffic level remained high thereafter. So we also saw something else that was pretty cool. There was one particular network, this AS2516 in Japan. They rolled out IPv6 native to 15% of their network in 4 weeks, which was really remarkable. Most access providers were participating at the level of handling trouble calls and that sort of thing. But these guys actually went and deployed it, which was awesome. But what was broken? Brokenness, the infamous brokenness that we were all trying to fix. Well, we found out that there was a consumer electronics device that plays YouTube videos, and it never actually tries to use IPv6, but it does ask for Quad A's, and lo and behold, when there is in fact an answer, it choked. It had a problem. But we worked with the manufacturer, and they had a fix. Similarly, there were some mobile users that were reaching all of a sudden Google Voice over IPv6, and the handset had a software bug, and this was also a connectivity and a device issue, and that has all since been fixed. So we learned that, among other things don't get fixed until they break. You can do a lot of work measuring and testing, but until you really turn it on, you don't actually know what all is out there lurking in the corners. Also, one day is not enough. Right? We all wanted to leave it on, but the agreement with everyone else was that we would turn it off so that we could go back to measuring things and measure before and after. We need another World IPv6 event of some kind, and I have some slides at the end. We very much want to plan on turning on Quad A's for the world in the first half of 2012 and leaving them on. That's what we would like to do. What about IPv6 brokenness as a whole? If you exclude Chrome, which made things look pretty good, it kind of didn't really change a whole lot, unfortunately. But there was a lot of awareness, and applications are now smarter. So Lion has some very smart behavior, macOS Lion, and obviously Firefox and Chrome and others hopefully soon to follow. But sadly, this is the adoption graph still. Only 1/3% have IPv6. You can look at this on google.com/IPv6/statistics. France is only 3.5% or 4% native. Japan is maybe 1.5% to 2% v6 native. I'd like to take this opportunity to say that given this current situation, there is still a wide open opportunity for any country to take the lead and be the country, the first country that makes it to 10% v6 native adoption, or 50% v6 native, or even 90 or better percent. That whole space is wide open. So summon your national or economic pride. It would be great to see Hong Kong be the first economy that actually breaks the 10% v6 native barrier. That would be awesome. Do I have time for some lessons learned deploying IPv6 in general? I don't know where I am on time. Yeah? Okay, well, so these are some general things that we've learned over the past 4 years we've been doing IPv6, since the middle of 2007, actually. Our high-level strategy was to start with the user-visible services. We were very interested in breaking the chicken and egg cycle. We wanted to provide cost incentives to avoid people having to do CGN. Only 0.1% of users had IPv6, so scaling wasn't really a problem at the time. And we wanted to give everybody else the heads up that we were doing IPv6 and this was real, and we would appreciate it if you could also get started too. So we began with a prototype infrastructure, and we worked from the outside in. We started bringing in external systems, external networking, the front-end systems, and all the user-visible services. The back-end networking and the internal applications were sort of the last thing that needed to get fixed. We also came up with this thing called address coercion, where for certain services that don't really know how to handle an IPv6 address, we coerce the v6 address into an IPv4 address. And there is actually some open source code that we released that shows you how to do this. And this provided a shim layer. So we were actually able to provide a layer of abstraction and move our infrastructure at different paces. So we didn't have to do it all at once. This was our overall methodology. Was to, I'll run through each of these really quick. The first thing was that we discovered we could tap enthusiasm, right? There are a lot of engineers who want to do this. People think this has some geek credential, it's kind of cool. So mostly it began as a 20% project, and a lot of people still contribute on their own. We definitely didn't wait for any company mandate, we just began in our own 20% time. And then we proceeded about this incremental production quality deployment, right? The key is that we folded it into our normal upgrade cycles. We use these shim layers. And IPv6 did not have to be as capable as IPv4 from day one, but it did have to be as reliable. Because nobody wants to use something that's kind of up, kind of down. Oh, it didn't work. But I mean, it doesn't have to be able to handle the same throughput, but it really should be there for people who want to use it. And we also, in our general design, tried to follow the principle of least surprise. IPv6 and IPv4 traffic follow all the same paths. This is much simpler from an operational support case. There's very little cognitive load from saying, oh, this is v6 or this is v4. Oh, they're totally different from different architectures. No, they're all very much the same. So if you can reason about v4, you should be able to reason about v6. And in software, we made it as IP agnostic as possible. Well, for software engineering, we did a lot of test-driven development. And also monitoring-driven deployment. We were actually able to discover when some of our production infrastructure was not behaving as expected because of production monitoring for IPv6 that we had installed very early. And at the moment, we're planning for IPv6 only. That's our plan. Everything that we have is available in the cloud. The cloud is available over IPv6. There are very few things that are not yet reachable over IPv6 for us. So. But the most important thing is to test and deploy. Test and deploy. Some folks seem to want to work from the inside out and make sure that it's all perfect before they release it to the world. But there's a lot of, there are bugs lurking, and you don't find these things until you run them. In some cases, you don't find them until you run them for months, especially bizarre race conditions and other tricky bugs. The only way to find the gaps was, again, to target real deployment. Same reliability, same performance, all the same complexity, and the same reasoning for as v4. And assume that v6 needs to carry all the traffic. So what are the next steps? Well, we just want to turn it on. We're at the point where I can fully automate the Google over IPv6 program. We can automatically return quad A's to resolvers based on their estimated impact. just like global server load balancing. So not only will we send you to what we hope is the right data center for you, but we can also direct you to use the right protocol, v4, v6. We haven't yet figured out what the correct thresholds for the brokenness is, and we're also working on this next event. There are several of us from the first event who want to enable IPv6 and leave it on. We really didn't want to turn it off, but that was kind of part of the deal. But now we want to leave it on. We want to turn it back on and leave it on. And in order for this to be a success, we need access providers, right? That 0.3% has got to move. We need more users. We need to find out what else is out there waiting for us. So if I may, like a look back at World IPv6 Day, it was actually really successful. It was exciting to see an industry that was coming together, and there was a lot of press. We got a lot of internal progress. A lot of other people have lots of good reports about what they were able to do inside of their organization. It made us feel that IPv6 was actually doable. This great public quote from someone said, "We turned it on and the internet didn't fall over." But the key thing was that participation was measurable. Right? There were several independent organizations that were measuring whether or not quad A's were up, whether or not the site was reachable, whether or not the correct content was being served over IPv6. In some cases, that was not the case. But of course, we turned it off. And there was very little access participation. We saw that great network in Japan. But overall, the total v6 still remains at 0.3%. So the problems, well, most of the technical issues are understood. And I would say for everything, there is still either a solution or a workaround. There can be no more doubt about content. Content is there. Content is ready. There are very few access networks. There are people saying there are no CEs. There are in fact now the beginning of CPEs. You can buy a couple of these devices. There's an IPv6 Ready logo program as well. But there's no deadline. There's no common timeline. There's no coordination. None of the same things that made v6 Day successful. So our current thinking at the moment is sometime between April and June of next year, we want to have another World IPv6 event. And participation will break down into 3 categories. For websites, you're going to turn on quad A records, and we're going to leave it on. That's the goal. Turn it on for a minimum of a week with the aim to leave it on thereafter. This will be measured just like it was last time, hopefully. RIPE and APNIC and ISOC all had great measurement sites. We're really looking for access in mobile providers to commit to rolling out IPv6 to some percentage, preferably 1% or more, something measurable. We're looking for third parties who can measure this. That would be great. And if you're a device or a CPE manufacturer, we would like to see people participate by enabling IPv6 by default. And you can go to the interoperability lab to get yourself certified, that sort of thing. Friendly competition is obviously encouraged, like there was last time. And obviously the event is open to all. So our current strategy is to sort of put together an initial group of players. We're looking for people who can make a public commitment about deploying IPv6. And who are willing to agree to be measured, right? That's part of the thing. The duration, 1 week, is sort of what some people have been thinking about. Obviously, the intent for us as website operators is that we'll leave it on for a minimum of a week and preferably forever thereafter. Hopefully soon there can be a press release about this. These are some of the folks who we've been talking to already, most of the same folks from the original v6 Day. And it has all of the same hallmarks of the original World IPv6 Day. Well, we might be able to do this if somebody else does this, if we get certain players. That's how the first thing started, and we hope that we can do it again. And this time, turn it on and leave it on. So if you're an ISP or a device manufacturer, please come talk to any of us. We're looking for people who are serious about doing it. So thank you. I don't know if there's time for questions or you want to do that later, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. Please be seated.